upon it, that I may remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all flesh that is upon the earth. And so we see the third covenant, the Noahic covenant. This covenant reaffirms the conditions of life of fallen man as seen in the Adamic covenant. This covenant institutes the principle of human government to curb the outbreak of sin, since the threat of divine judgment by another flood has been removed. And so, as I was studying this out, I found it very interesting that here in verse 15, if we back up, it says, "And I will remember my covenant which is given between me and you and every living creature of all flesh, and the waters shall no more become a flood to destroy all flesh." And so I found it interesting that God says that he won't cause a flood like that again to destroy all flesh. But if we look at the book of Revelation, he uses everything but a flood. We have war, pestilence, famines. We have hail and fire for the first trumpet. We see the waters are turned into blood and made bitter. We see that in the second, third trumpet, and on. So he uses everything but a flood. And it's also interesting to see that God says when he sees his bow in the cloud, he'll remember his covenant. God doesn't forget. He's all-knowing. Right? He is all-knowing. But perhaps he put it there to help us remember his covenant. When we see his bow, we can rest assured that God keeps his promises. Now, there are 7 elements to this covenant. First of all, we see that man is made responsible to protect the sanctity of human life by orderly rule over the individual man, even to capital punishment. We see that in Genesis 9, 5 through 6, Romans 13, 1 through 7. So we see man is responsible to protect the sanctity of human life. The sanctity of human life. And so for just a second, I want to talk about just a touchy subject, which is, of course, abortion versus the death penalty. It's a difficult subject to talk about, but the sanctity of human life. Now, God has given us the responsibility to protect the sanctity of human life, even to use capital punishment if needed. And we can see that in Genesis chapter 8, 15 through 22. What I don't understand is how people can be pro-abortion and anti-death penalty. You say, how can you say you would rather kill, and that's what it's doing, is murdering an innocent child,
That's right,
and spare the life of anyone who may have taken a life, done a rape, or any other heinous crime? My belief is that the criminal has made his choice. The criminal has made his choice. Can he be forgiven? Of course. Criminals can be forgiven. We can look at the two criminals on the side. One mocked Jesus, yet the other one asked to be forgiven.
right.
So criminals can be forgiven, but he still needs to be punished for his crime. That criminal on the cross with Jesus was still punished for his crime, but he was forgiven. So yes, a criminal can be forgiven, but he still has to be subject to that punishment. The innocent child, however, has no say in the matter. The innocent child wasn't asked to be brought into this world, and if the mom doesn't want him, her, they can just take a pill or have some procedure done and make it all go away. Now, does that sound like protecting the sanctity of human life?
No.
Right, it does not. We're not protecting the sanctity of human life. It seems that we have it backwards. We have it backwards as a society. And I'm working on a lesson for Sunday school that delves deep into these subjects. So if you guys want to, after we get through Jeremiah, that's where we're going. Second of all, we see that there's no additional curse put upon the ground. We're not to fear another universal flood. God says that no matter what, no matter how bad it gets, he will not destroy it by a flood again. Here we have another lesson. The ark, of course, is a type of Christ, protector in the storm. The flood, divine judgment of sin. Noah and his family, few are saved, and everybody else, many will perish. That's another lesson. So just know that God promised to never flood the whole earth again. He always keeps his promises. And then thirdly, we see the order of nature is confirmed. We've said many times that we cannot get order out of chaos. We cannot. Everything in this solar system, everything in this universe points to intelligent design. And we see God reaffirms that, and we can see that in Genesis 8:22 and chapter 9, verse 2. While the earth remains, seed time, harvest, cold, heat, summer, winter, day, night, they will not cease. and the animals are made to be beneath us and to fear us. We rule the animals, so to speak. Which brings us to our fourth main idea here. We see the meat of the animals is added to man's diet. We see that in Genesis 9, 3, and 4, and we've never looked back. Presumably man had been vegetarians before the flood. Now God has permitted a man to eat the animals. And God has put a fear of man into the animals. Before the flood and in the garden, the animals had no fear of man, vice versa. Now that meat is permitted to eat, meat is permitted, God puts a fear into the animals. Why? Shorter lives, meaning the nutrients from the meat, but no blood is to be consumed. Blood is crucial in forgiveness, and without the shedding of it, there is no forgiveness. And then the last few here, as we wrap up, and again, we can get deeper into this, but just for the sake of time, a prophetic declaration is made that the descendants of Canaan, Ham's son, will be a servant to their brethren. A prophetic declaration is made that Shem will have a peculiar relation to the Lord. And then seventh, we see a prophetic declaration is made that from Japheth will descend the enlarged races. And so we can dig in deeper to that, but just for the sake of time, we won't. So there's the Noahic